everyone. Good evening. I think my volume was a little low on my intro there. I'm your host, Julia Evans with Beyond the Veil. Welcome to tonight's 10th episode. It's all about new beginnings. Tonight's episode, I have a special guest coming on tonight, Tamara Miller Intuitive Numerologist. She's going to be calling shortly. Everybody's still playing. Yes, I'm still playing my intro off my phone because I have not found the technical expertise of the magical world of IT. Yeah, so Matt is laughing at me. Thank you, Matt. I just want to reach out to Matt and Allison with Cosmos Astrium Radio for putting this platform together and showing me the ropes of this. Not all the ropes because I still use my telephone to play my intro over my microphone. One of these days I will figure out a different way. With that said, Tamara will be calling in. She's just a little delayed right now, and we'll talk about that after. I'm going to just talk a little bit about what's been happening in the last little while. So for those of you who have just tuned into my radio show, Beyond the Veil, Exploring Holistic Realms, is all about experiencing the known and unknown, the seen and the unseen, life, death, undead, what's true, near-death experiences. It just holds a platform of a place where you can feel safe to ask questions, anything like that. I am a best-selling author of my book, The Lily Nurse, Rebooted, Rebirth, and Finding a New Path. It's about my journey into the unknown, I guess you could say. It was about my near-death experience. I will be getting my next book out soon enough. I know I keep saying that, and it's been a long journey since I got that book, or my second book out. But regardless, it will come out eventually. Now, a little bit about Tamara before she calls in. I met Tamara during Pagan Pride, and Pagan Pride is put on, you can find this through Cosmos Astrium Radio as well. And Pagan Pride is a beautiful gathering of like-minded people to see different holistic modalities, pagan rituals, from spells to a world that not a lot of people tap into. Some people fear it, some people just thrive in it. But it's been going on for the last, this will be its third year. So Cosmos Astrium Radio, I'm just reading off Discord. If anybody cares to look at their website, it's sk-paganride.com. And you can find information on Facebook or through Cosmos Astrium Radio. Matt is just putting on things on Discord for me, so thank you for doing that. As everybody knows, and for those who are new to my station or this radio show, I do kind of look at 4 screens as I'm doing this. So I try to look at everything while I'm kind of on the fly doing my show. With that said, I sometimes miss a comment, but I do try to get back to it as soon as I can. Tonight, I'm not taking phone calls only because Tamara will be calling from Medicine Hat, Alberta tonight. She's just picking her daughter up from, I think it's a volleyball or basketball game tonight. So she said she apologizes if she's a little bit late. And I said, it's okay. I've done this show 9 times. I think I can fill a little bit of dead air. Okay, with that said, so what we've been talking about over the last few shows is from new moons, full moons, Yule. Last week I talked about Imbolic, and Imbolic was that February 1st, and that is that beautiful time of year with the Celtic and pagan calendar that we celebrate spring. It's in between that Yule or winter solstice and that spring equinox. And so it's that middle time frame to find balance in our worlds, to shed the things that no longer serve us anymore, get out of that contraction, get out of that cold and depressive stage, and just start flourishing and start developing and blooming into a world that we wish and want to be in. So I thought, what what better way to have episode 10? And I'm going to talk a little bit about the numerology of that. Numerology 10, of course, we don't look at the 0, but we look at 1, and 1 is about a new beginning. So last week we were talking about the transition of going into a new beginning, and now here we are again, almost going into a full cycle. And as I'm going through my 9th life year, which Tamara and I will be talking about that as well. My birthday's coming up at the end of February here. And as I'm going through my 9th year, and this is about the year of ending things and just finishing things off, closing things, just like coming anew. A new me, a new world, a new breath of fresh air. With that said, I will be going into this new beginning in this new world of what I kind of wanted to go into as well. So I thought, well, this is quite suiting. So some of the numerology things that I've been talking about on this show, and I kind of tap into it every once in a while. I don't have a vast majority of knowledge within numerology. It's just what I've learned on my journey in life. I haven't taken any courses. I've studied a little bit about it, but that's just on my own accord. It's just my own accord. Tamara's just trying to call in here. So I'm just going to call her back here. Hang on a second. I'm just making sure she has the right number. Okay, I do apologize. So different things that I've been talking about on my show is about a lot of 5s that have been popping up. So the number 5 of the world of change, that I'm ready to change, and I've been seeing this in my awareness for a very long time. I'm just going to try calling Tamara this way. Okay. Hello, Tamara. Hello, can you hear us? You're on the air.
I can hear you.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I just have Tamara on the line. This is Tamara, our intuitive numerologist. So welcome to the show. Welcome to the show, Beyond the Veil, Tamara.
Thank you.
I was just talking about how you're just picking up your daughter, and I was kind of feeling a little bit of dead air there. I'm just going to do a little intro about Tamara. So as I was saying, I met Tamara at Pagan Pride. And Pagan Pride, we met, what was it, back in September, Tamara? Is that correct?
You betcha.
Okay. Now, Tamara and I were both presenters at this show, or this, I don't know what would, not a show, but like this beautiful, a Pagan Pride, a beautiful event. So with that said, we were both presenting, and so we're both sitting at the presenters table, and I thought, oh, I'm really interested in numerology, and of course I was making notes, and I thought, what a beautiful segue to what I was talking about too. And then from that moment, Tamara and I just kind of became almost instant friends, didn't we, Tamara?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. And with that, we ended up trading sessions. So she got a little bit of taste of what I do as a body talk practitioner, and then we did a trade of numerology. So Tamara, I'm just going to get you to tell a little bit about yourself to everyone on the radio here. Go ahead, love.
Well, I'm not sure what all you want to know. I am 48 years old.
Okay. Well, we're not going to give we won't give too much information. Mind you, numbers is really important for you. Could you just define?
Long walks on the beach? No,
Yeah. It's not Tinder, darling. No. No, what can you describe to us, for listeners who don't know what numerology is? Could you describe it or define it for us?
I sure can. So, numerology can mean different things for different people. So, a lot of people automatically associate numerology with astrology, and it's very accurate. The two do go very much hand in hand. But for me, I actually don't understand a whole lot about astrology. So the numerology that I do is Pythagorean numerology, and it's strictly numbers. So it's everything around numbers.
Okay.
number sequences. I do people's personal numerology. I will do numerology for people who have businesses and do the numerology on their business name, or if they have a product that they're wanting to sell. I do the numbers on the product. I have a friend who I do that for.
Okay.
Every time she creates something new, she sends me the name of it, and I do the numerology. And generally, she doesn't tell me even what the product is. And then I do the numbers and tell her what it says, and then she says nay or yay, kind of thing.
Okay.
But numerology can be done. Oh my gosh, it's everywhere. Numerology is everywhere.
You're absolutely right.
Numbers, yeah.
Yeah,
Like
it's
when you're reading palms, if you don't have hands, you're not going to get anything. But when you're reading numbers, it opens up a lot of doors in a lot of different ways.
well, and numerology, there's a real frequency to it, isn't there?
Mm-hmm.
Like it opens up like doorways for people to help them on their path of what they're experiencing, or it almost can tell how things are going to flow into the future and how it was in the past. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And so, for example, my life path is a number 8. I didn't know my life path until I was probably 44 years old, 43, 44 years old. And as soon as he told me what it meant, I was like, wow, that makes a lot of sense, because I'm a number 8 life path,
Okay.
which is status, wealth, and power. Most entrepreneurs are 8s.
Okay, so Tamara, for our listeners, do you want to kind of describe what a life path was? Because I was just talking about how I'm in my 9th life path, and I'm just going into my first as my birthday's coming up. But do you want to give a little brief description of what that represents, or what does that mean? Like for the normal person, what does that mean?
So your life path is not that. What you're talking about is your personal year.
Oh, sorry, personal year. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, so what's
So
the difference?
Your life path is based on your birthday, and it's basically 50% of who you are. And then you can't change it, of course, because you can't change your birthday. So when I say it's 50% of who you are, it's kind of what your main lesson is in life. And so for me, it's entrepreneurship, like it's having my own business. And I always went the opposite way of that, because I was always told, you get a good job, you work your 40 hours a week, you go home at night, and you go home and you have your weekends free. And that's kind of what I was raised in, because that's what my parents did, right? So I always felt the urge to branch out. I always struggled with having a job, because I had tendencies to take over, because I didn't like the way things went. So I try to manage it myself, kind of thing. But that was all part of my life path.
Okay, and how do you get to your life path? Like how with numerology, is it like a calculation that you have to use, or how do you form that? I know it's your birth date, but do you just add the numbers? What do you do there with that, Tamara?
Okay, so if you give me your birthday, someone comes along and I'm doing their numbers, and they give me their birthday. Basically, I add them up, and until they become a single digit. Now, this is where it gets kind of confusing, because I work with numbers 1 through 9.
Okay.
Which are all single digit numbers. But I also work with numbers 11, 22, 33, which are double digit numbers. And then also 13, 14, 16, and 19. So this is where it gets a little bit confusing. So, like, for example, for my birthday is January 2nd, 1976. So January is a 1. Of course, the second is a 2.
Okay.
And 1976, 1 plus 9 plus 7 plus 6 adds to 23, which you then break it down one more to a 5.
Okay.
So,
well, I was just talking about the number 5 and how like there's different forms of numerology too. Well, not different forms, but how to describe it. And I was describing about number 5, about change, and how like
right.
you're ready for change. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
And also means change is coming.
Okay.
But the thing about the life path that gets confusing for when people do their own numerology, or if they go to one of those, to the websites that do their numerology for them.
Okay.
I'm not saying those sites are not accurate, but it's nice to see why they're getting the messages they are. why are they seeing the things that they are? Because I know when I've done that before, and it's a big long page of reading, and I don't even understand how they got those numbers.
Okay.
So when I do someone's numerology, I sit with them while I do it. So say your birthday is on
Well,
the
you can do
19th.
mine, Tamara, just so you have a number, because I know you and I just did a reading just the other day. So February 27th, 1980. And this is for life path, correct?
What's that?
For life path, that's when you add up all the days? Okay.
Yes.
You
But
can do...
doing this gets kind of sketchy with doing your own numerology, because there's one little trick that makes it a little more difficult. If the number that you get at the end, like say if you broke down 19, so I'm going to go with 2000 and, nope, I'm not going to use that one. So say you were born in 19, no, hold on a second, I got to figure this out.
Now, is it always...
I can't think of a number. I can't think of the number off the top of my head.
Is it always to one number, like in between 1 and 9?
Yes, but if you're born on the 11th month,
Okay.
and the 11th day, or 22nd, or the 13th, 14th, 16th, and 19th, all of those karmic debt numbers, as well as the master numbers. If you're born on any of those days, you don't break it down. And that's where it gets confusing. So, for example, I did the numerology for a mom whose son was born on August the 19th of 2014. So August was an 8, 19 stays a 19.
Okay.
And then you add 2014 and that becomes a 7. You do not break down the 19 because it's a karmic debt number.
Okay, so with people who don't know what that represents, because I don't want to lose people here, what does karmic debt number mean?
Okay, well, maybe what I'll do is I'll start at the beginning and I'll just talk about all the numbers that I work with. It's probably the easiest way.
Okay.
So I work with numbers 1 through 9. That each one of those numbers represents a lesson.
Okay.
And if any of those numbers like show up on a regular basis for people, there's always in numerology, doing someone's personal numerology, it represents a lesson. But if you see the numbers, like say you see a number on a bus or something like that, and you see it often, it still has the same kind of meaning. So, for example, the number 5 is Jack of all trades, master of none. So they're ever changing. Okay. And the number 5, if you see it somewhere on a regular basis, it represents change. So it's the same thing, but a little bit different.
Okay.
So those are the numbers I work with, and each one of those has a different meaning / lesson.
Okay.
So then you move into the other three numbers that I work with, which are called the master numbers, which are 11, 22, and 33. Those numbers are connected to a higher power. So depending on who your higher power is, they're connected to a higher power. So they have a very divine connotation with them. So 11 is love and light, 22 is the master builder, 33 is Christ consciousness, or teachers of the universe. So those are all kind of holy numbers, I guess you could say. And then there's the other 4 numbers that I work with, which are 13, 14, 16, 19. And nowhere in a numerology reading do you have to remember any of this, but it's still kind of cool to know. And all of those numbers are karmic debt numbers. So what they are is they have to do with past lives.
Okay.
And when you're in a past life, you did something to wrong somebody else, and you never resolved the debt before you crossed over to and you died. So
now, does everybody have a karmic debt number?
Not necessarily, no.
Okay.
No, not necessarily. Most people do, though. So what you did is you carried the debt with you over to this life. So now you have to work through the debt in this lifetime. And now, if you don't believe in past lives, when I do people's numerology who do not believe in past lives, what they represent there is certain habits that come along. So, like, for example, if someone has a 16-7 in their name, automatically know that they're very invasive, and they have moments where they are not respectful of people's privacy and personal space. And a lot of people, unless it's like a really prominent part of their numbers, a lot of people who have 16/7s have that habit that they show the most around the people that they love, the people that they're the most comfortable with.
Yeah,
So
that's really interesting. Now,
yeah.
when somebody has a karmic debt number, do you help them through how to pay back that debt? Because
Yes.
that's really interesting to me. Because with body talk, because as you know, Tamara, I'm a body talk practitioner, and some of my listeners know that as well. But we do things with past lives as well. And you can see like different traits that come through from different scarring, like those birthmarks. So you know that there's been a past life, and we help them maneuver and shift through that. But how do you
Mm-hmm.
do that as a numerologist?
So this is how I kind of work my way through it. If I'm in a personal numerology reading with somebody and I see a karmic debt number, I explain to them what it means. And if they give me a look like, no, that's not me, then I know they've already released the debt.
Okay. But if they
So,
say, "Oh yeah, that kind of sounds like me," then
yes.
they haven't done it. Okay.
Right. So I did a reading for a lady who's a couple of people actually. They were life path 16/7, which is one of the most aggressive karmic debt numbers there is. And it's their life path to boot. So it's 50% of who they are.
Okay. Now, when
And
they were in front of you, were they quite aggressive? Like, did they have
no,
that aggressive personality? No. Okay.
no one ever is because they don't know me.
Oh.
But then you see them other places, you're like, oh yeah, now I see what you're talking about.
You're like, you're being nice because I'm reading your numbers.
Yeah, exactly. But
Yeah. So, Tamara, we actually have a question for you. So, this is from Emily from Nova Scotia. This was an earlier message because I said tonight I'm not taking phone calls because I have you on the phone. So, I just told people just to contact me through Discord and Facebook. But Emily from Nova Scotia, she was wondering her birthday, October 12th, 2012. And then this year, she is going to be turning 12. And so, is there a significance to either the 12, or is there something special about, or what is special about her day, that October 12th, 2012? And is it significant that she is turning 12 at that time? That was her question.
okay. Um, this is a really good example of honestly, it's like taking a number and like I want to say make it sound like it's a bad thing because it's not. It doesn't. Not that it doesn't mean anything,
Mm-hmm.
but this is like it's over analyzing the numbers,
Okay.
right? So it's not like it doesn't mean anything. 12 is two things. 12 is a 1 and a 2, so 1 represents self and 2 represents codependency and relationships. So this is definitely a year for any child who's 12 where they start to make a change and they start to become more individualized, but they also become more they kind of blend in, right? It's a decision where those kids get to make that decision, and 12 is a big one.
Okay.
So if anything, I would say she should support her child very much so um, through this transition, especially if it's a girl. It could mean that it's a little bit more of a struggle for her.
Okay.
Now, the other thing is about the 12 is that you break it down to a single digit and it becomes a 3, which is expression. So the best thing is let her teach her to be her, not them. Guide her through that.
Okay.
And support her in the way that she needs to be supported. Because, like, for my daughter, she was always be you, not them. Then all of a sudden, she was be them. And that's where she was comfortable. So, unless I saw behavior issues,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really feel the need to address it because she was finding her own way and her own path.
Okay. Well, that's really interesting that I actually didn't look at the deeper meaning of that because when I was asked that earlier, I said, I'll ask you tonight.
Yep.
And because 3, with the things that I do in paganism and everything, like 3 is a very powerful number, right? The power of 3. It's like combining that mind, body, spirit complex, which creates the soul. Things come back to you. It's the threefold. But it's fascinating to actually break those 2 numbers down. And even at that age, how that's when you start that puberty and whatnot. So thank you for that. Now she'll be in bed in Nova Scotia right now because it's so far. But as I put this on YouTube, I'm going to just make note to her where it is on YouTube. So an early thank you to you from her.
So
now,
here's the other thing too that I figured out that she should know.
Okay.
She's also, when I figured out her personal year, she's also in personal year 3, which is expression.
Oh, so there is something significant. So she almost picked that up prior to even knowing the numbers, because she knew that there was 3 12s and she's in her year 3, which could be over analyzing. But sometimes when we don't know, like the mastery of a language or like your practice, right? We kind of take it the best way we can. We know that there's something. So thank you for that.
Yep.
Now I have another question from you from Discord. And it's actually from Baby Cakes. So Baby Cakes, this one's for you. Why is 2 rare?
2 is rare?
That's what the question is. Because earlier it said he's a 2 and his son's a 22. Both are strong numbers. And he said, why is it rare? Why is number 2 rare?
Not really. So now, this is where it kind of gets interesting, because every letter of the alphabet is associated with a number. So one of the most common numbers that you see in people's numbers that's on the higher side is a 5.
Okay.
Because, so the number 2 is letters B, K, and, oh my gosh, I wish I had my chart in front of me. B and K.
So I know from talking with you and getting a session from you from the past, just with like what's on your website. And for those who want to look at Tamara's website, it is intuitivenumerology.ca. And there is some free stuff on there for you to look at of what we're talking about with some of these numbers. But I know on there you have number 2 as codependency, relationships, open-mindedness, peace, and calming.
Mm-hmm.
So perhaps is that really rare, that people right now, even coming from COVID, that no one has peace right now? Everybody's not that calm. Like, why do you think?
What it was like, so each letter of the alphabet is associated with a number, and I do remember which one it is now. So B, K, and T are the numbers that are associated with number 2. So that's what makes them rare, because those letters aren't always common in everybody's name.
Sorry, what is it? B, K,
and T.
And T. Okay.
So T maybe, but B and K are not as common, right?
Okay.
And so with the 5, it's E, and W, and I can't remember the other one, but there's more. These numbers are more common amongst numbers.
Okay.
Right? So we're amongst people's names. So like most people have a W, a lot of people have a W, and lots of people have an E. Like look at your name.
Okay. So just here's a comment to you. Sorry to interrupt you, Tamara. So this lady who was asking about the 2 said, funny, she named her son Braden, and Braden also has 22. So she thought that was interesting. So thank you from her. So sorry, continue. What were you saying?
So that's the thing, is that I want to just have a look here in a second. When you talk, I'll look it up.
Okay.
But so that's where someone's name really comes into play, because like if Braden is number 22, that's like if he's got 3 or 4 names, there's less emphasis on that number 22. 22 is the highest number in numerology. Lots of names, lots of last names generally have a master number in them, whether it's 22, 33, or 11.
Okay.
So the 22 is the highest number in numerology, which is the master builder. Now, that doesn't make Braden a 22. That just incorporates into his numbers. So he could have like a 22 for Braden, and then if his middle name happens to be a number 3, and then his last name happens to be a 6, then you add 6 plus 3 plus 22. So you're not, it's only a portion of who he is, I guess you could say. It
Okay.
wouldn't be one of those traits that was really, really huge. It just, he might like to build with blocks, because he likes to build things. And then he might get mad if the tower's not right, tear it
Okay.
down, and put it back together again until
Now,
it's perfect.
just so I don't have people giving me their full name, just because this is, it goes across the world here. But I'm just going to put on Discord, and I will put this on different advertisements via my Instagram, Facebook, and I will put it on the YouTube channel of your website for anybody who wants actual full reading from Tamara can find her via her website. So I will put that on Discord. So when you talk to somebody and do a numerology reading, do you, like, I know you kind of went through everything with me, and you started with my birth date, and then you did my name. So you did my first, my middle, and my last name. And then because I had been married, you did that name as well. And that actually showed another huge change in like how I guess I was, or I am,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Is that true? Okay.
Yeah. And it does, it makes a difference. So when I got married, I basically walked away from my previous last name completely, mostly for stupid reasons at that time, but because I got teased a lot about my last name. So I walked away from that name entirely because I was just tired of the jokes and all that kind of stuff. So I walked away from it completely. But
Mm-hmm.
when I did that, I also ditched the only 8 in my name. And so that was the letter H. And so that was, I ditched the only H. So basically, when I gave away that last name, I gave away my power.
Oh, that's interesting. So sorry,
It doesn't,
just to go back there, Tamara, I was listening, but which was the H, your maiden name or your married name?
my married name, or my
Okay.
maiden name,
Your
sorry. So when I got rid of my maiden name, I gave away my only H as well. So I actually surrendered the power out of my name.
well, is that ever interesting? That's and
Mm-hmm.
you separated, did you say?
No, no, no.
Oh,
I'm still with my husband. So I went from bleep, I'm not going to say what it is,
bleep.
to Miller, to Miller when
Bleep.
I got married. So I lost, but I surrendered my power. When I said, nope, I am not giving that name any attention, I also said, I'm not giving my power any attention because that was my power in my name.
Oh,
So,
interesting. Okay.
yeah. So that doesn't mean that you should hyphenate your name. No matter what, that is the name that you were given at birth, and there's a lot of bones to that.
Okay. So
So,
that's always like a huge part of you, just like when you do astrology and whatnot. And I know it's very different from numerology, but there's a few crossing similarities, like how you have your moon sign, your sun sign, and your actual birth date and time
mhm.
tells like a story of kind of your path that you're going to leave. Well, you will leave
Yeah,
your path someday too. We all have to die someday.
yeah,
Um,
totally.
Totally. But you'll always, so you didn't necessarily give up your power because you still have a little bit of that because that's who you were at one point, right?
Right. So now I've gone from not giving that name any attention to accept it as part of my history and accepting it as part of my numbers, right? So now I use that last name more often. So I mean, if someone says it, I don't necessarily not look anymore, or if I see it on a piece of paper or whatever, it doesn't. I don't. I give it positive feedback, positive feelings, I guess you could say.
Okay.
Um, but if you like, when you get married and you change your name, it doesn't mean that your numbers completely change.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, they do change, but some people will just develop new habits. Like
Interesting.
maybe when before they married their husband, they were terribly unorganized, and they could not put their poop in a group, and they had no organization skills whatsoever. And then they married their husband, and all of a sudden they inherited new numbers that
Okay.
brought organization into their life. Like, that can happen.
So with what is it? What do you call it? Your year path, or what is that called again?
Life path.
Life path. So does that reflect that as well?
Mm-mm.
No. Oh, that's
Your
just
life
something
path,
totally different.
your life path will never change
Okay.
because it's based on your birthday, and you
Okay.
can't change your birthday.
Well, no, you well, no, no, you can't.
No, so your birthday stays the same.
Okay. And then what was I going to ask you a question about? Okay, so I'm going to ask you because we had talked the other day and you did a numerology reading on me, and we're not going to go through that whole thing. But there was a few things that we were going to talk about on the show. And as most of my viewers know, I don't pre-plan anything that's on my show. But because I had a guest tonight, you and I wanted to look at a few things. So one of them I was going to ask you is lately, and actually since the beginning of me starting this show, from the day of solitude, me going to Saskatoon, I had a dream. And then the dream was I got a key for the room 555. And then the license plates in front of me were 555. The date was December 5th. Like, it's always the fives. Even when I come from Regina into Balgony, the sign that tells me how far the towns are in between White City and Balgony, it says 555. Like, there's fives everywhere.
Yeah.
Is there a significance to that? So I'm going to ask that for myself.
Yes, absolutely. So those number sequences that we see,
Mm-hmm.
they do play a pretty big role because it's. So when I first started doing numerology, I mean, I've always been a numbers person, not math, but I've always loved numbers, but I didn't know why. And then all of a sudden, one day, I started seeing number sequences like 111, 222, 333, 444, and I know there's probably a million people that are saying, "Oh yeah, that's me,"
Mm-hmm.
and that's kind of how it starts out, because those are the numbers that get our attention, and so we know that, oh, there's something to this. So that happened to me for like months and months and months and months and months before I figured out what was happening. And once I was able to figure out what was happening, the number sequences got to be more and more different.
Okay.
So now when I see a number sequence, I'm like, okay, there's something to this. So, for example, I pulled up to a red light, and there were 3 buses in front of me. Not one, not 2, but 3 buses in front of me, one in each lane, and me. And there was just the 4 of us vehicles sitting there. And the number on the buses was 11, 20, and 21, I believe.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, this isn't a joke. This is something I need to make a mental note of, because if I start to see these numbers anywhere else, that's confirmation that there's a message in these numbers. So,
and so just I'm going to back that up a little bit. So
yeah.
for some viewers that, because there's some viewers that understand numerology and frequencies and the divine talking to us, or that spiritual realm, but what do you mean by that? Like, is it, and I just had somebody, are angel numbers the same meaning as numerology numbers? That's another question on Discord here.
Okay. So when I first saw those numbers, I was like, okay, because it was just me and the buses. It was just very odd, because that light was normally very busy, especially at that time of day.
Okay.
And so I drove back to work, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to put it in my back pocket that I saw these numbers. The same day, the same light, the same 3 buses, and me at later on that afternoon. So then I knew, okay, no, this is no bull. I have to go home and analyze these numbers. So what they meant for me that day may not have been what they meant for other people, because the meaning was there, but it has suited what was going on in my life. And I was struggling at work because I was having a moment where I was feeling like I was doing everything by myself. But I was reminded in that moment that you're not alone. don't be a dumbass. Ask for help.
Okay. So then
I remember
with
just not
numerology,
asking.
so with numerology and the frequency that you see or the sequences that you were seeing, obviously that message is for you because you're the only one seeing it. But is it just a frequency, and it's because that's what you hold dear to your heart, that's why those sequences come to you? Like,
No, no,
what if somebody who doesn't really know a lot of numerology, like what is it if they started seeing like sequence numbers and whatnot all the time and it drew their attention? What does that mean for them? Like that something is a higher power or something is speaking to them?
well, it depends what you believe in, but
Okay.
I definitely knew there was a message from it, from something. There was definitely a message for me that I had to pay attention to. One thing when people do see like 111 and they start to see these numbers, I mean, they're probably going to do this. The first thing that I did is I went to Google and asked what it meant.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, when 111 shows up on Google, it's the angels are with you.
Yeah.
And it's nothing but love and light and all this kind of stuff. So, and that's not a bad thing because of course it's angel numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the the angels are with us all the time. But the question that when you see those numbers is why are they letting you know?
Yeah. So I'm
Because
gonna add to that, Tamara,
yeah,
because
you probably can.
I literally got goosebumps because you know my story, and a lot of my viewers do, that I had a near death experience in October, or sorry, I almost said October. It wasn't October. That was a different year. May 10th, 2018. But ever since that day it happened, there was this, and my sequence has always been 713, 713, 713. And so, as a body talk practitioner, like we had done sessions about that number, trying not to have an agenda with it. And it came up
Yeah.
as it was an angelic meaning. And so, through body talk, we had found that it represented actually a scripture reading of
Okay.
Matthew 7:13 moving to 7:14 about the narrow road, and most people find it, or the narrow gate, and then 7:14 is but short the road leads to life. And I've quoted it on my show before, but it's just about most people will follow the path and lead a life of destruction, whereas if you can get past that, some people can basically live the life that they desire. But it's interesting that you bring that up, and why I wanted to talk about this with you is 713. And as you're adding up those, or as you were saying the sequence and adding them up, I just added up for the first time ever in almost 6 years 713, and it's 11. And like as I say that, my whole body just got goosebumps because I crossed over, and I went to the light in bed 7, or sorry, in bed 13, spot 7. And so every single room that I was in, there was 13, or there was 713, or else it's backwards. It will be like 731, but it's always those sequence, always those three numbers. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
So
that's very cool.
thank you for that. I didn't know I would get like another little moment with you, but that was actually really cool. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that a lot of numbers like they need to be broken down in order to get the whole
The
message,
whole
right?
message.
Not all the time, but sometimes. Like I mean, 111 doesn't necessarily mean you're going to break it down to a 3 because you're not supposed to break it down from one thing.
Okay.
And a 3 is a lot different than an 11.
Okay. So
Um,
is for people who want to know a little bit more about numerology, I mean, they can get sessions from you, but is there like reliable sources or courses, books, or anything that you recommend other than getting obviously sessions from you and your teachings? Because I know I've been to some of your lectures and your presentations, but do you recommend anything, or is there a course you took?
oh no, my course was done. I studied under a numerologist,
Okay.
but um, okay, I guess it all depends on how much detail you want. So there's a really good angel number book. Oh, and I
Oh,
can't remember his name.
I think I know. It's like a little blue book, the angel numbers.
Kyle Gray.
Yeah.
Kyle Gray. But he's a Catholic boy, so it's a lot of Bible type stuff. I
Okay.
don't really recommend the Doreen Virtue one too much, just because she went from one extreme to the next, and now it's hard to take her seriously, I guess you could say. I'm not going to get into that.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, she does tarot cards, and she was kind of our go-to gal for tarot cards and readings and whatnot. And she did go on a different journey. And actually,
Yeah.
I still do tarot readings and oracle readings with some of her cards because there is a deeper meaning to that something happened on her life path that changed her. And so some people have a belief that what she practiced or what she believed in either what's the word I'm looking for, is like disregarded, like it's not trusted anymore. So yeah.
But her
So
book was pretty good.
her book
But
is very good.
you can't buy it anymore.
No,
So if
they
you
took
find
it
a
off the
copy,
shelves. Yeah.
like if you find a used copy, absolutely pick it up. But here's the thing, like if you want to know more about numerology, if you want the real truth, the real bare bones of it, and not just the angel version, contact a numerologist.
Oh, well, you know what? Hey, that is a beautiful thing because you could probably talk numbers to everybody. So yeah,
Right.
talk to a numerologist. Don't because there is, like, I've tried to pick up a few books and I've done a little bit of studying on my own, but just like any modality, there's so much to learn. And if you're not learning it from somebody who has the training in it, you can go off on like totally different tangents and get a totally different version of what you're reading because of your beliefs and the things that you grew up on. So thank you for that. So for those who are listening, once again, you can find Tamara because she is a numerologist, an intuitive numerologist. So intuitivenumerology.ca is her website, and you can find her there if you ever have questions. Now there is another question here. A lady says, I see 1010, 1111, 1212, and 222, 444 a lot. I look up the meaning when I see the numbers for the messages behind them. Are any of those popping out to you, Tamara? Like, is any of those quite significant just off the top of your head?
Like 10?
Yeah, 10, 10,
10
10.
and 12?
Yeah.
Immediately when I see someone who's seeing the number 10, is it's time to put yourself first.
Ooh.
Yes,
Let's just reflect on that. I love that because this is episode 10. And I broke it down to 1. Like, this is like a new beginning because last week was 9 and I'm moving into that. I'm just shifting my 9th year, going into my first that I was describing to my listeners before you came on. And the lady said, I got my nails done today for self-care. She's laughing. That's wonderful. But that's really interesting because I had to do a bunch of self-care for myself. I had to do some meditation and some exercise and do my hair a little different and do some things for me. Reach out to some old girlfriends and whatnot for my self-care as I was going through the 10th episode. So 10.
So the 10 is the 1 is all about self, and the 0 is basically a circle that has no breaks in it, so it's never ending. So it's a reminder that the only person we are stuck with for our entire lives is ourselves.
Do you want to just repeat that one more time just for our listeners? Because that I think is really significant.
Yeah, so 1 is all about self, and the 0 is never ending because there's no breaks in that 0. So that's just a reminder that the only person we are stuck with for our entire lives is ourselves. Yeah. So if we don't take care of ourselves,
then no one will.
We can't take care of everybody else. Mm-hmm. And then the 12 is an interesting one too because if you look at the number 12, it's a 1 and a 2. 1 is all about self. 2 is codependency in relationships. So that's also a reminder, a second reminder for this listener that number 1 is still first. You still need to put yourself first
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah. And I know Tamara, you've listened to some of my shows, but I try to reinforce that on most of my shows just by thanking my listeners for taking that time, whatever they get from the show. And even if it's like a meditation or anything like that, that they took their time for themselves. But it is really important to catch your breath in this world because it is very chaotic. And just like a flight attendant, says put that oxygen mask on first. And sometimes we really do need reminding. So thank you for that, for reminding us of that. So thank you.
Right. It's absolutely true. So one thing I want to make sure I touch on is because to put it mildly, it really, really ticked me off.
Okay.
When this happened. And it's a reminder because all of these things are going to happen throughout the year, every single year, especially with social media and all kinds of things. And what really, really got to me this year was on December 31st, the big hype over 123, 123.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I love that you're bringing this up. So what the heck was that all about? Because I saw that everywhere, all over social media. What was that?
So it was stupid.
It was stupid. Tamara, tell us what you really think. No. Stupid.
As people were looking for these beautiful angel numbers, and I'm not saying that, don't get me wrong, but in order to find them and to make our behaviors justified, we take numbers out of a number sequence that are very, very important.
Yeah.
So if you look at the date, it was 12/31, 2012. But I have a few, I don't know, I have a few names for this person, decided to remove the 20. And it was 1, 2, 3, 12. And then 1, 2, 3 again, right?
Oh.
Is that what it was?
Something like that.
Yeah, so it was 2023. So it was December 12th, 31, which is 1, 2, 3, 1. And then remove the 20, and then it became a 23. Now, this is why it gets me. Why, when people remove numbers from a number sequence to make it look pretty, it's like taking the mileage and moving it back on a car. Ooh, this car looks like a great deal. But someone has actually turned the mileage back, and that's why it looks like a great deal. It's not quite what it was. And to tell you the truth, December 12th, 2023 was a karmic debt number 14-5. So basically, it was a perfect day for any pompous ASS that was out there to do their thing. So really, people have been driving around and people are giving each other the finger. They're not being nice to each other. Everybody's being self-absorbed jerk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and all of that focus was on 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and it was lovely and beautiful and wonderful. Then no one even took in the 1st of January, which was
huge. It was huge.
Superpower day.
Just, I want us to finish off on that. So why was that a power day? Let's finish this radio show with that. Why was that so powerful? Because you're right. No one looked at it. And everybody was like, oh, woe is me. 2023 was so hard. And I was like, wow, this is so powerful, you guys. Like this is it. Because like, this is the year of 8, right? Like this is that power and that fluidity, and you're just coming into balance with yourself. So why was January 1st so powerful this year?
Okay, well, first of all, it's the first day of the year, which is rocking. It's a new start right off the beginning. And not only is it a new start, but it's January is a 1, and it's on the 1st. You can look at that as a number 2, or you can look at that number as an 11 if you want to, because it's a 1 and a 1.
Yeah, which is divine.
1 + 1, and then you take 2024, which is 8. When you add it together, you get another 1 because it's 10. Breaks down to a 1. So you're getting 1, 1, 8, 1.
Oh.
Now, if you take 8 + 1 + 1, it adds up to 10, right?
And we just talked about that, right? We just talked about that.
The first day of the year was a day for power and self.
Oh, just repeat that one more time. The first day of the year was what, darling?
Was status, wealth, and power and self.
Yes.
We put so much energy in into a date that didn't even exist, that we didn't even notice it was the most powerful day of the year.
Yes.
You
And
know?
so, as you said, some would you say some pompous person put it out there? Well, maybe that pompous person couldn't actually honor that what actually was happening, that it was about themselves and that power and everything.
Yes.
Tamara, that was absolutely wonderful. Thank you for that. I don't want to cut you off here, but we're just about ending our program.
Okay.
I really appreciate you coming on and speaking on Beyond the Veil with me, your host, Julia Evans. It's a true honor to have this hour with you and just share your expertise with my listeners. And for those who do want more information about Tamara, you can find her at intuitivenumerology.ca. There is some beautiful free stuff with what we started the program with. Tamara, is there anything you want to end with before I have to let you go?
No, just thanks so much for having me. This was like so much fun. I would do it again in a heartbeat.
Oh, bless. Well, I'm sure we'll have you on the show again. Tamara, thank you so well, and I will talk to you very soon. And thank you for doing my numerology. And whenever you want to do another trade, I'm always up for that, girl.
Okay, that sounds awesome.
Okay, peace and love. I'll talk to you soon, love.
You betcha.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Bye, love.
Okay. Bye.
Okay, everyone. So that was Tamara, my intuitive numerologist. Thank you, one and all, for joining us for our nice big special, as Tamara just ended it off on such a beautiful note, just about that number 10, and this is episode 10. I would like to thank each and every one of you for tapping on and joining us for this wonderful program. Please continue listening. You can also watch the show. This will be a different one that I put on YouTube because Tamara was on the telephone and she did a lot of the talking, so I might be a little like still in the YouTube channel, but that's okay. I'll still post it. Everyone, once again, I'm going to say goodbye and farewell, not goodbye forever. Take care of yourselves. Make sure you get that breath in and that self-care, and blessed be everyone. We're all here for a reason. If you ever have any questions about any of these, you can always tune in. Normally I take phone calls, or you can join us on Discord and ask us questions. Take care, everyone, and we will join you next week on the 11th episode. It'll be a very divine one. Take care, everyone. Good night.